Here it is, beta branch 1.4.3 just landed, and it is filled with so much stuff. In this video today, we're going to do what we normally do. I'm going to cover the patch notes that are officially launched on the forums posted by Callum. I will provide a link for that in the description if you want to just go through them on your own. And then we're going to go through those changes in the game and what they look like. And I can explain some of those for you. Just to kind of hit a couple things up front so you have some real quick hard and fast information just in case you don't want to watch this whole thing. Number one, your old saves will work with the beta branch. So even though there was the code refactor, everything still works. So as long as you're not reliant on a specific mod, you can still boot up your old saves in 1.4.3. I tested it with a number of them, so you're good to go there. And a number of quick highlights that were brought in with this patch. We get a new character. Your main character experience, I guess progression is a good way to put it. You get new perks for athletics and for riding, and also there is a new experience sharing system for all of your troops. And those are just some of the kind of the high level things. There's also a new main story quest, but if that's all you wanted to find out, you just want to go test it on your own now, or you want to read the patch notes and dive in, there you go, have at it. There's a minute and a half out of your day that you can now just kind of get going. But for those of you who want to go through the notes with me with a fine-tooth comb, and also go into what the game represents on some of these notes, let's go through it right now. So we have a lot to go through, so I'm going to skip through some of the stuff that I personally find maybe not as pertinent or not as super and huge. For example, all of these crashes I'm just not going to talk about. There were a number of crash fixes. If any of them apply to your game or you've been dealing with them, you'll find them in this category. Now, for the performance increase, I will say this out the gate here. I was able to turn almost everything now up to high or full, shadows included, and still run at 120 frames a second. So the performance from the launch of the game to now, even from 1.4.2 to now, is hugely increased. And I know I say that every single patch notes video, and honestly I think that's a good statement that I'm repeating every single time, that they are increasingly getting better at increasing the performance here. I'd say the first 3 points are particularly important. Reduced memory usage of large settlement scenes, general CPU memory usage improvements for mission scenes, and UI memory usage was reduced on the campaign map. So these three things I think are pretty huge in reducing the performance. Later in the patch notes, we'll also talk about cloth simulation, but that has also got a little bit of an overhaul done to it as well. Moving on to save and load, we have the first note in here being one of the biggest ones of the patch notes. Fixed a bug that caused troop formations to reset after saving and loading the game. So for example, if you custom set any of your troops to specific formations, say all of your skirmishers into formation 7, if you were to previously load the game up after you set that, that would reset. Now that is not the case. Man, is it awesome. It feels so weird because you kind of like, you go through things to naturally go back to them and start to reset the formations, but they're already there, so you don't have to do anything. It's lovely. Some other little changes to localization, but art has had a number of things added to it. We get a new ultra short afro hair in the character creation screen. We also get some new Sturgian armor sets that I will showcase for you guys. Also a 3 new old looking Sturgian Shields and the Northern Slavian leather armor. The clipping problem was that if you put any bracer on or any kind of hand armor, it would clip through the sleeves of the leather armor. This has been fixed, but it has not been fixed for a number of other armors that have this problem. So that's worth noting at least. Also though, nav mesh edits for better AI movement on ladders for Sturgia Castle 3. If you've ever done any of the siege warfare, then you know that the AI responds better on some fights than it does on others. In this case, the Sturgia Castle 3 map, whichever one loads that in when you do the siege, you're going to notice that the AI is going to move a lot better on those siege ladders. Moving into the campaign map, pathfinding and nav mesh fixes in the world map. Army member icons now make a movement animation while relocating during events instead of floating, and the world map icons have had a lot of textures, models, and materials improved. Not a ton of important things, but just, you know, I'm going to talk about it real quick. Now, UI changes, 3 pretty cool ones here. 1, new conversation screen on the campaign map, and I will show this to you guys. So basically, whenever you go to interact with anyone on the campaign map, be it a lord, be it looters to attack them, they immediately appear. You don't load into an additional screen. So it streamlines the campaign process so well. Like, I love it. It just is less cumbersome to talk to individuals and do portions of quests. Now we also get cheering, which was originally a mod that has now been added into the game full on. You hold down the O button, next to I and P, and you can now cheer. And you have a number of animations that you can choose from. This is a feature that is in progress and will be implemented for multiplayer with more features in the future patches. Right now, if you hold it down, it just says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you don't really, it doesn't say like, oh, cheer over your head or cheer with your mouth open, stuff like that. It just says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see that this is a constant work process for them. A number of custom battle map improvements. The biggest one here being wall state options are now solid, single breached, and dual breached. So if you wanted to do any simulated custom battles on those maps, doing a siege, you now know what this means other than 150 or zeros. Kind of nice there. This is another huge one. My Little Tantan has a mod that does something very similar to this, and I'll explain in game why his mod I think is both better and different. But now equipment of units in the encyclopedia is inspectable by hovering over their respective icons in their encyclopedia pages. So you'll have a helmet icon, two-handed weapon icon, or a polearm icon. You hover over it and it tells you what that unit is using by default. Now, of course, the issue here is that every single unit has a variety of weapons and armor that it comes equipped with, and this only shows one specific instance. So it's worth noting that the mod still, I think, does this a little bit better. A number of other good things here, but added missing one-handed polearm and leadership perk icons. So if you were looking for specific leadership perks to work 100%, this was not telling you that it fixed them. It's just saying that the icons themselves that used to be little padlocks have been removed and they now have an official icon there. Some other little fixes. Fixed a bug that caused babies and children to have visuals in encyclopedia and clan screen, and fixed encyclopedia page for children no longer shows enemies and allies. Now this little guy is also pretty damn awesome. Adjustments to the hideout encounter. The player now has two options to enter a hideout. Either simply charging in, which will select his highest level troops in the mission, or to manage his roster from a party screen. Bandit counts in the mission were balanced, and bandits that do not fight in the duel can be taken as prisoners. Prior to that, they were not taken as prisoners. They were actually counted as on your side if they dueled. And I think that was the system's way of saying like, okay, we'll do this so that they don't attack your own units. I'm not sure why they did that. But also, auto blocking option was added for single player. So if you're having a trouble blocking, especially if you're playing realistic, auto blocking is now in the game. This is huge, right? We've been wanting the ability to cater who goes into hideouts, and now we get that. The nice thing too is even if you don't want to individually manage the roster, just pressing attack will now select your highest level troops for the mission. So even if you don't want to go through the tedium, it's still a better process than it was before. So I'm so stoked on that. Next up here, character development. Now, two big things right out the gate here at the top. Adjustments to, I'm sorry, I was reading something else. Added a new system for XP sharing, where after a battle, a portion of upgrade XP earned by troops will be distributed to the rest of the party. Now, let me explain that real quick. Let's say, for example, you've got just 50 spearmen and 50 archers, and you attack 50 looters, and all 50 of your archers kill the looters before the spearmen can do any damage. Well, now that portion of that experience is now shared to all of the troops in the party, not just the ones that killed it. So in the past, it was best to say, keep a unit of 10 archers as 10 archers for as long as possible until all 10 could just progress to the next level at the same time. It was better to batch level things and upgrade them. Now with this new system, you can upgrade things as you see fit because you're not going to be necessarily losing out on as much experience. I still think it's probably better to batch upgrade because you're still allowing yourself to maximize the amount of experience that group can get, but they will still be sharing experience, so they won't be completely left out. Now the second portion here, character levels now depend on raw experience collected from skills rather than skill level increases. Overall, this should make it easier to focus on a particular set of skills. And this is huge. So originally before this was the Skyrim system of every time you get a skill level up, say your two-handed progresses from 20 to 21. That would contribute 1 skill point towards your total skill points needed to progress your character's ultimate level. Now, in the past, that would cause you to kind of lag around levels 15, 16, 17, around that range. This has improved it so much. And I really feel like maybe it's just me, but it feels like it's easier all of a sudden to gain levels. And maybe it's because my character is progressing in character levels so fast that the skill levels just can't keep up with it. So I don't know what it really is, but it feels like the character level is a lot faster. My one character that I'm going to showcase for you guys is on day 40 or 50, and he's level 6. So it really is just kind of moving along quickly. Some of the calculations of perks were wrong because primary and secondary increments types were not divided. This has been fixed. Skill effects, another big one here. Skill effects were not applied to non-hero agents. This was fixed. Just a quick example here. Let's say your Imperial Legionary had 180 one-handed skill. Well, he wasn't getting the passive bonuses of having that skill prior to this patch. It was just saying, okay, he's just got the skill, no big deal. But now he's going to get his damage increase, his weapon speed increase, all sorts of the good goodies that come with the passive of having a high skill. Also on top of that, we get 2 new sets of perks in both athletics and in riding, and they are really, really nice. We'll go through them in a little bit here. Moving on to clan and party. I'm actually having a little trouble with this one, and maybe you guys can help me out with it. And I know I usually have answers here, but adjust clan members to make sure each clan has a number of combatants appropriate to its tier. At least 1 combatant for tiers 1 and 2, 2 for 3 and 4, 3 for 5 and 6. Combatants are characters that are reasonably skilled for leading parties, etc. Now, the way I interpret this patch note is that right now, with the way the game is, when they added in all these new characters, they created some clans that don't really have actual combatants. And I see that as being an ultimate draw upon the resources of a nation. So I think that this is adding every single clan has at least 1 character that can do damage or create a party and lead armies against other nations. I'm not 100% sure. So if you guys have a better idea of what that means, please by all means let me know. Oh, I forgot about this one too. Fixed a bug with Wholesaler and Appraiser perks. Profits should now be marked, which is quite nice there. Some other things here. Skill and trait generation for children was improved. Problems with excessively low or high skilled offspring should be resolved. So for example, people were having children and they would only have 1 to 5 skill and things here and there. They would never progress past that point. This should hopefully now be fixed. Also, cultural home settlements are properly assigned at the beginning of the game. The general home settlement selection algorithm was improved. The non-party hero wandering algorithm was also improved. So any of those wandering heroes that you want to recruit into your party, they now move at a bit of a steadier pace and a more natural pace. They don't simply just warp around the map. They should pretty much move in locations that they are geographically close to and do it at a pretty consistent rate. So you should see your wanderers moving around a lot. And in my little experiment here with the 1.4.3 beta, I noticed that one specific town did not have the same wanderer in that place for more than 5 days at a time. They were constantly being shifted around, which I really liked and really appreciated because it just kind of made it feel a little bit more alive, as that were. But pretty nice little improvement there. Let's see here, Kingdom and Diplomacy, we get quite a bit. So adjustments to the war and peace evaluations. You should not be having these massive 4 or 5 front wars anymore, and they're actually going to be ending wars and signing peace treaties a little bit more regularly and a lot less turbulently. On top of that too, it is now more difficult for lords to defect, even when they have no settlements. And this was the biggest problem. In the past, lords were defecting the second that a faction would start to get just smashed out. Lords will typically not defect if they have a good amount of money. This means that the money they have affects their desire for defection. The player now also gains relation after a lord joins his kingdom via the defection barter, and the defecting lord loses relation with his old king as well. Because a secondary portion to what I was saying is lords would join your faction and then they would defect back to their primary faction. So it was a really annoying thing, but that has now been fixed. And following that, fixed and enabled the succession kingdom decision that triggers on royal death for the player and AI. So now you should successfully see successions within kingdoms. Durthert doesn't need to be the king at all anymore if you want to kind of cut it that way, if you so wish. Fixed a bug that caused the voting system to ignore the player participation in some decisions. So if you were voting on a castle and you said you threw 100 influence at it and it just didn't work out for you, well, that's because the system was accidentally ignoring it. That has now been fixed. A huge other portion of that is Sturgian default party templates strength increased to better match with other factions, and I'll show you that in the game. It's just a much better composition for their armies. It's a lot more durable, a lot more Sturgian, and it's a lot more scary. In turn, like I said, I'm on about day 40 or 50 of one campaign that I'm playing. And Sturgia actually was like sieging Sionin. Like they're actually doing some damage back. So it's very nice to see Sturgia in a position where they're not completely getting pushed, their heads pushed under, but I still think that they probably will get steamrolled towards the end. We'll see as I play through more. But fixed a bug that caused heroes that are in related kingdom settlements to not be captured or released after peace or war declaration. This was a large problem with any of the factions that was getting destroyed in a one-sided war, and then a peace was created. So if the peace was created, they weren't getting their heroes back. It was the same problem we were having, I think, 4 or 5 patches ago, where heroes were dying and they would come back, and looters would just perpetually keep them dead because they would have one unit in their party, and a looter bandit of 15 would just go take them out non-stop over and over and over. So this has hopefully been fixed now. We should start to see heroes coming back after they sign a war or peace declaration. Oh, the king's chances of being a candidate for and winning ownership of a newly captured settlement were reduced a bit. So Durthert, you no longer can have a monopoly on all of my settlements in all of Volandia. Go to hell, mustache-wielding bastard. Moving on, not that I'm bitter at all. We get a new quest, new main storyline quest named Rescue Your Family was added to the game. This triggers the second you complete the initial quest that you start the game with to get to clan rank 1, to hire a wanderer, and to get your income up to 2,000, so on and so forth. So as soon as you complete that quest, this one will start and you can recruit your brother, and I showcase the quest later in this video so you can see it if you so wish. And I don't spoil the story of the quest. I keep that for you guys. I just show you the result. But a number of other fixes to some other quests: extortion by deserters, gang leader, and training for retainers. I would say the biggest change of all of these, though, is for extortion. Quest giver's defense party can no longer be controlled by the player. They will join the ambush battle to defeat deserters, but they will be under the command of the quest giver. So they're no longer going to join your side innately. The AI will have control of them. So if you were relying on them before when you were doing those quests, you no longer have that kind of, I guess you could say, crutch. But that's kind of worth pointing out. Conversations and encounters, not a whole ton of, I guess, really prevalent bugs were fixed, except for this one. Fixed a bug that caused the wrong encyclopedia page to open upon clicking the name of the conversed character in the conversation. So you should no longer have that be an issue. Now, for other, there is a big, I guess, balancing, or at least swapping around of troop updates. So for one, faction troops now use a greater variety of weaponry. An example of this will be Imperial recruits now carry scythes. So that's a pretty interesting little change. All the mercenary units have had a little bit of a tweaking to their skill points as well as their weapon loadouts. Sturgian Brigand, Hardened Brigand, and Horse Raiders now all have spears, actually making them really good cavalry units, because now they've got really nice throwing weapons for at least the Hardened and the Horse Raider, the Hardened Brigand and the Horse Raider. The Sturgian Brigand is not a cavalry unit, so I backstep there. But the rest now, they can use spears and they'll actually be deadly on horseback. They're not just simply going to rely on their throwing weapons and their melee weapon. Basic level 6 units of factions now have a chance to carry and use tier 2 weapons. Battalion Oathsworn now use javelins. That seems to be a bit of a repeating thing here. The Asarai tribal horsemen now have javelins because they darken units carry better javelins. So a javelin update across the board to a lot of javelin units has been issued. Battalion scouts changed their horses to battalion ones. Asarai, Mameluke, regulars, and youth now count as cav units. In the past, if you were to recruit them and then upgrade them, they would automatically file themselves into formation number 1 as infantry, and if you selected them, they would be called infantry. This is not the case anymore. Mameluke Heavy Cav now uses a different bow. Kazate Torguds now carry swords in addition to their original weaponry, making them a little bit stronger. Khan's Guard now also carry one-handed maces, also making them a little destructive. And Kazate Spear Infantry now use throwable spears, much like the Pilum. And Levy Crossbowmen now count as ranged units, as they should. Some other little things here. Characters would not properly show their age, look younger in missions. This was fixed. And I think fixed a bug that prevented child nobles from spawning in the Lord's Halls. So now you can see children running amok in the Lord's Hall, playing all sorts of weird shenanigans like prank calls, but who does that? But the biggest portion of other here is these 4 things. Editor UX cleanup for modding tools, asset override systems for the modding tools, and modding support for sound system and internal refactoring and code cleanup. I think that this means that we will be seeing those modding tools in the next patch, and this is just setting that groundwork for those patch, and the internal refactoring was all about the code refactor that they did and code cleanup. So awesome, awesome, awesome additions there. A lot of multiplayer balances and changes here, mainly to fixing the stability of the servers. That seems to be the biggest thing here, is fixing the overall server deployment and stability so people can actually play and not have it crash on them the whole time. And then we have some last little tweaks here I want to go through, and there's not a whole ton in this section. I think the biggest one is for performance is cloth simulation now uses fewer CPU resources. So that was causing a massive drag on a lot of people's frames per second, and that has now been fixed. And for combat, we get these 2 little ditties. 2-handed weapons can now crush through a block on an overswing attack. It especially makes the Wood Chopper 2-handed perk very useful because you do more damage to shields now. And crush through was printing 2 different damages. It's fixed. I'm not really sure overall what that means. I think it was just maybe repeating, like if you crush through an enemy or 2 enemies and did like 100 and 120 damage, I think it was showing 100, 100, 120, 120. I'm not really sure 100%, but I just wanted to bring it up here at least. You guys can see that. So we've gone through the patch notes, and I went through this pretty quickly because there is so much to cover here, and I apologize if I went a little too fast. This isn't as detailed as I usually get because, like I said, there have been so many sweeping changes here that I think it was important just to kind of get to these as quick as possible. Now we're going to jump into the game. I'm going to showcase some stuff, and if the footage in game feels a little disjointed, it's because I filmed certain portions at different moments in my playthrough, and that was mainly because I didn't want to get beyond one portion and not be able to showcase it. So if it feels disjointed, it's just because it's filmed out of a sequential order like I usually do. So let's jump into the main campaign, and I'll show you guys some of the big things that have changed. Here we are in the actual campaign map, or on the game itself. Let me go through real quick the option selection. For performance, like I said, I've turned a lot of these up from high or off, and cloth simulation is now on well. And I'll be honest, I'm flying. I'm at like a nice cool 120 or some odd frames per second, depending on the situation, but I never really drop below 60 at all. So I have to say that the performance increase was massive. I want to just kind of showcase these settings real quick. If you are having a lot of a lot of performance issues, turn down your foliage quality and turn down your shadow quality, and shadow type, set it to static only. Those things will help you out a ton. Those 3 things alone would just pretty much fix a lot of your issues. But let's go and jump into some things here. For one, I want to showcase Radagost's army here. If I hold down Alt, I can see what's in this army. Take a look at this. I got warriors, shock troops, spearmen, recruits, archers, hunters. I mean, a lot more variety is now in these Sturgian armies. It's not just simply an overwhelming amount of infantry that just gets ridden over by any of the Blondians or any of the Battanians. It's actually got a good, I guess you could say, breakout of troops. It does say 63 infantry, so there is still a lot of infantry. But my point is that it's not just simply recruits or the progression of recruits. units. We get nice shock troops in here, some good warriors. We have woodsmen in there as well. Woodsmen do count as infantry, so until they're actually upgraded to the hunters or archers, we get to see them in that role, unfortunately. But a lot better of an overall spread of the units here for Sturgia. And like I said, I'm going to zoom out here. We can see that some things have been taken, and there was a pretty immediate war with both Britannia and with Volondia. But I was surprised to see that they weren't completely smashing apart Sturgia. They were actually going toe-to-toe with them, so I really appreciated that. So jumping over here to the character screen, we can see my Floki, by the way. We can see some of the new skills and perks. So for riding, we have a whole new set of skills and perks. Same thing here for athletics. A lot of the redundancy from both a bow and riding has been taken out. And we have yet to get bow and crossbow getting their own little revamps too. So those should hopefully be next because I know that bow and crossbow desperately need it. But there are a lot of really great, amazing riding perks, and I want you guys to definitely drill into this. This video has already gone on pretty long, so I don't want to go into each and every one of them. But some of the really cool standout ones here are increase your maneuver by 10%. Get this, which increases your charge damage and then increases your formations charge damage. And this spreads across here. When your mount falls, so this is actually an interesting one. When your mount falls in battle, it has a 50% chance of getting lame instead of 100%. And I think that feature has been turned off right now. It might be on now that this perk is in the game, but I've had horses die out from under me and they have not gone lame, so everything seems to be okay there. Also though, you get the option between the two that says increase your mount hit points by 20%. So you can choose, okay, does my horse get killed a lot? Well, then I'm probably going to go veterinary. Or do I just want a stockier horse? Well, I'll go with well strapped. So you get a nice balance here. And this is just, again, across the way, it's really, really nice. Increase mounted infantry campaign speed by 30%, or increase carry capacity of pack animals by 20%. Are you a trade empire? Go filled to the brim. Are you a Khazate nomad fighting force? Go nomadic traditions on top of your innate cultural abilities. It's going to be disgusting. You'll move around the map so fast. But again, decrease mounted accuracy penalty, increase your mount top speed. If you join an ongoing battle of your allies, your party starts with +10 battle morale, so on and so forth. A lot of really nice riding perks. Now, athletics has some pretty awesome ones as well. Right out the gate, it comes with a pretty hard decision. Well built, increase your maximum hit points by 5% and increase your formations hit points by 5. Did I say 5%? It's just by 5. Hit points by 5, not 5%. Morning exercise, increase your movement speed by 10% and your foot troops by 5%. So right out the gate, you have to decide if you want to run faster or have more health. So kind of a tricky one. Honestly, if I were playing on foot, I would go well built because your speed is going to go through the roof as your athletics increases. Then you get form-fitting armor. Decrease your armor weight by 30%. That is so beneficial. So beneficial, even if you are not even bothering to do an athletics playthrough. You get Fury. While on foot, your weapon handling is increased by 10% and foot troops increased by 10 handling. Having Going slightly increases your persuasion chance and increases crafting stamina recovery by 50%. They did say that they're going to be doing a smithing and crafting rework, and they're yet to do that yet, so we should hopefully see that in future patches, but it's nice to see that you can get that to lean into it. But a lot of really awesome perks here in athletics, and I really like it. Another thing I wanted to showcase here in the character screen are the total skill points and next level. It says skill points, it's just supposed to say experience points, so I need a total of 3,609 experience to level up this character, and you can see it's not going to be very hard. My character is level 6, and you can see how low a lot of my skills already are. Granted, my steward's through the goddamn roof, but just wanted to give you an idea of how the new skill tree works there. With the party screen, this is all shared experience now between all these party units, which is very, very nice. I really like that. And one thing I wanted to talk about too is the new encyclopedia page for all of these units. Now, as I mentioned, I still think the mod by My Little Tantan, which allows you to look at all of the different types of loadouts that these guys can use, is a little more beneficial. But if you're not into using mods, you want to play the game vanilla, you can now hover over these icons, find out exactly what this unit has to compare and contrast. What do you want to put in your army? And I really, really like this. I think it should have been in the default, or in the game by default, and it's really nice to have. I really love this level of transparency on what all my units are using and where. Very nice. Also, again, the skill effects here. So this guy has 100 one-handed. So any passive bonuses he would get from one-handed are now in the game, which is a bueno. Now, I think one of the last things I wanted to talk about before I jump into some other features is the clan screen. And I think that this was here all along. So correct me if I'm wrong. I apologize if I was. If I go to Sarah Lind the Wainwright and I click this button, I can select her for whatever role I want within my clan, or this party in specific. It now shows you the corresponding skill that she has in that expected role. So Sarah Lynn, I want to make her an engineer. She's got 80 engineering. Boom, a shoo-in. If that was already done in the previous patch and I just forgot about it, I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't mean to spread misinformation there, but I thought that was pretty sweet. But let's jump into some other information now about the new armor in the game, as well as some of the new shields that were added, the new story mission, and how hideouts work with the new system. Another one of the newer things that were added with the patch of 1.4.3 were some new armors and some new shields, and I want to showcase those real quick. I did use the cheat menu developer, or whatever the hell, to access all this, because why not? But Floki here is equipped with the new Northern Lamellar vest, and he has a reinforced large round shield. I believe that's one of the newer shields that were added. Also, if I look at a cheetah here, she's got the Northern Short Lamellar vest. The difference here is right here in the leg region. See, and that corresponds to armor too. Leg armor on this one is 8. Leg armor on this one is 2. And she's wearing the iron-rimmed large round shield. See right here? And I believe their character has other yes, the Northern Round Sparring Shield is the other one of the new Northern shields that were added. And I could be wrong. They might be a different one, but for the most part, they will fit the same kind of motif of some sort of round shield with a different variation of hide across the front, a different variation of a rimming on it. And I can't remember the specific thing again, but it's there to protect your hand. But I just wanted to showcase those newer items that were added to the game, because usually I can't find them, so I decided just to use the cheat console to show them off to you guys real quick. In the patch notes, I talked about the new main story quest line mission that is added to the game, and this comes to you as soon as you reach Clan Tier 1. You get approached by Radagos, the guy from the tutorial, and as soon as you reach Clan Tier 1, he just approaches you on the campaign map. You know, you escaped, where's my brother, what's happened, calm down, I'll tell you everything. Basically, he tells you that they found your brother and sister, and the former partner betrays them. And essentially what this leads on to is that you go on to save your family. How can we possibly trust each other? I can live with that. Let's go. See you there. But remember, if this is a trap or something, that will cost you your life. And this starts this little quest here. And what it does, oh, that's not the quest dialogue thing. This is rescue your family. As you explore, Ragdos said that he knows where your siblings are. He offered to attack together. He will wait for you at the hideout that he mentioned about near Omor. And see the hideout marked on the map. And this seems to spawn wherever you're closest to, so it kind of just makes it easy to complete. And you can see right here, that hideout is pretty close to Omor, since we're right by Omor when we triggered this quest. Let's go ahead and do the hideout, and I'll show you guys the result. And since we're about to jump into this hideout, let's go over the new Managed Troops menu that was added with this beta patch as well. So we can now select which 10 of our troops we want to go into this mission. We could even say, I don't even want all my companions to go, but screw that, we want them to go. But one thing to note though, if you do have on this menu over here, the option to upgrade any troops, do not do it in this screen. It will crash the game. I went to film this portion initially and said, oh, I'll upgrade some of my Sturgian recruits. That did not go so well because the game crashed. But let's go ahead and take, we'll do that maybe. Yeah, that'll do, pig. Something like that. So then we just press done and we go ahead and automatically are ready to go. We press attack and we zone into the hideout to do our combat. I don't want to spoil any of the actual story portion of that quest, but once you complete it, you actually get your brother as a companion now, and he is pretty jacked. And you get your brother and sister as companions as well. Now they did fix the children and their skills, but this might still be a little bugged. As you can see, it's all still at 1s and 0s, and there does seem to be a little bit of a fall off with your brother's dialogue options after the quest. So this is still in beta, and so we're probably going to see this either fleshed out in a future patch or at the end of the beta branch. But I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what actually happens with this new quest. You get a pretty awesome character to enter into your party pretty immediately. Well, at that, guys, it concludes our video here today on the patch notes. So if you want to see this patch in action and you don't really want to jump into it just yet, I will be streaming this on the channel starting tomorrow about 10 or 11 a.m. Pacific Daytime. But the ultimate question here is, should you test this patch? And absolutely. It is very stable. I'm having no problems with it whatsoever. And like I said, I have loaded up previous saves with this patch and had 0 problems. And the amount of quality of life improvements to the game just plays entirely different to me. I mean, I know it doesn't really. I know I'm kind of like, that's like a little hyperbole, but the game just feels awesome knowing that I can now do the succession system now, right? If I can take over Sturgia if I so wish. Like, I love that those things are in the game, and I think that even though I haven't fully tested the top end of what this patch unlocks, the possibility of me now being able to actually do it makes it just that much more exciting to play through yet again. I will be honest, I did use the developer console to cheat a little bit and get some cool armor, but it was needed so I could fully kind of play through some things and test some stuff out. But like I said, guys, go ahead, give this a go. It's really awesome. It's really fun. And if you want to watch it in motion, I will be streaming it tomorrow and probably Wednesday and or Thursday. We'll be doing our new narrative campaign. I will finish off the troop guide videos now that we have a new update here that's changed a lot of the troops too. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of stack up now to their new different iterations. But as always, thank you so much for watching here today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below, all that kind of fun action. And if you do subscribe, please go ahead and hit the little bell icon and turn on all notifications. That helps me out a ton because now you can find out when my guides go live, when I'm streaming, when I'm doing game giveaways, or any other weird things that I do on my channel. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one and take care.